After 3 years of silence, a German shepherd and cop exposed the incredible truth of her hidden past. The night felt heavy in Maplewood. Shadows crept along the streets, stretching their fingers through the gaps in the curtains of homes once brimming with laughter. Officer Mark Reynolds stood alone in his dimly lit living room, a single table lamp flickering with a life of its own. He flipped through old photographs of happier days. Each image echoed a memory of his once inseparable bond with Axel, his German shepherd partner, who had laid beside him during countless night shifts, ready for anything that came their way. Now, the silence left by Axel's retirement settled like a blanket over him, stifling. In those 3 years since Axel had limped away from the force due to an injury, Mark felt the weight of loneliness press heavily against his chest. Crime had surged in their small town, twisting the joy that families once shared into whispers of fear. He could see it in their eyes, the dread that forced them to look through curtains, as if hoping the darkness outside wouldn't invade their homes. As he reached the last picture, a snapshot of him and Axel chasing a suspect through the park, something ignited within him. It was hope, a flickering flame that warmed his heart. Memories of their teamwork flooded back. Axel had always been more than just a dog, he was a partner, a protector. Mark felt that it wasn't too late. Perhaps their partnership could mend, maybe loyalty wasn't bound by a leash, but rather etched into the soul. Just then, his phone buzzed, shattering his thoughts. An alert about a robbery at the Smith family bakery met his eyes, and a pit formed in his stomach. The Smiths were good people, but times had hit them hard. Just last year, their bakery was the sweet smell of Maplewood's spirit. Now, it was a target of desperation. As Mark took a step toward the door, a voice inside him grew louder. "You've got to fight for this town, for these people," it urged. But guilt tugged at him too, the realities of a dying economy weighing down his resolve. Before he could slip into the darkness, he made a decision. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The summer fair was buzzing, a kaleidoscope of colors and laughter. Children bopped on inflatable rides while older couples reminisced over cotton candy. But Mark couldn't shake the tension. The Smiths' names hung in the air like storm clouds. He felt Axel's presence beside him, solid and steady. Every wag of his tail felt like a silent promise. As he stepped onto the makeshift stage, facing the crowd, his heart raced. The unease simmered, and just as he began to speak about community unity, a shout pierced through, "They're thieves! The Smiths!" Gasps rippled through the crowd, and all eyes turned to Mark. He felt the weight of judgment pressing down. But he stood there, with Axel glaring at the source of the accusation, and realized this was a moment that could define them all. Would they come together or fall apart? As tension crackled through the air, he knew that he must protect not just the truth but the heart of Maplewood. Would they rally behind their own, or would fear have the final say? The night was just beginning. The crowd's atmosphere shifted, thick with disbelief and uncertainty. Whispers passed through the audience like a gust of wind, chilling Mark to the bone. He could see the Smiths in the back, faces pale and eyes wide with shock. Their beloved bakery, a cornerstone of the community, now faced accusations that could tear them apart. Mark clenched his fists. Fears and anger bubbled up inside him, but he forced them back. In this moment, he had to stand strong. One look at Axel, standing tall and alert at his side, and Mark found his voice. "Listen up," he called, projecting across the fairgrounds. "I know the Smiths. I've seen how hard they work for this town. They're not thieves, they're our friends." His pulse thundered in his ears as he glanced into the faces among the crowd searching for resolve. But doubt lingered, hanging heavily in the air. In the corner of his eye, he noticed a few people nodding. Others turned away, folding their arms, unwilling to listen. It was a painful reminder of how easy it was to descend into mistrust. Just like that, a crack formed in the community's unity, and Mark was keenly aware of the role he played in bridging that divide. Watching Axel, he could see the dog's muscles tense, ready to act. Mark felt a surge of clarity. Axel had always been more than a partner in crime, he was a beacon of loyalty. It was time to bring that loyalty back into the fold, not just between him and Axel, but in the very heart of Maplewood. Everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, he continued, desperation creeping into his tone. We can't let fear take root among us. I need each of you to think about what made this town special. Remember the cupcakes at the Smith's bakery? The birthday cakes that brought smiles to our kids? We're a community that stands together, and we will not let our fear dictate our actions. A pause fell over the crowd, but one defiant voice rose. What do you know about it, Mark? You haven't been out there. That bakery's the only thing keeping them afloat. A chill ran through him, the accusation felt like a punch. But beneath the tension, a flicker of determination ignited. I may not know every struggle, Mark replied, his voice even. But I believe in second chances. We can't judge the Smiths without proof. We need to come together to protect what's ours. The crowd shifted as Axel barked, breaking the heaviness like a crack of thunder. Heads turned, and for a brief moment, it seemed like he had reminded them of the bond they all shared. As people began to murmur among themselves, Mark felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe they wouldn't fall apart after all. Maybe this was the moment they could bridge differences and mend what seemed broken. But as he scanned the faces, he noticed someone filming the entire scene, their phone trained on him with relentless intent. What if this wasn't just a moment of community? What if it became a spectacle of division instead? Fear knotted in his stomach. He didn't know what would come next, but he felt the clock ticking, the stakes were rising higher with every second. Before he could regroup his thoughts, something shifted in the background. A figure slipped quietly away from the fairgrounds, moving toward the shadows of the alley behind the bakery. Instinctively, Mark's heart raced. There was something about that movement that felt off. I need to check it out, he murmured to Axel. Without hesitation, Axel's tail wagged in agreement, the bond between them igniting with purpose once more. They pushed through the crowd, hearts pounding toward the unknown. What secrets lurked in the darkness just beyond the laughter and light of the fair? Mark took a deep breath. It was time to find answers, even if it meant facing his own fears head-on. Mark moved swiftly, his eyes scanning the fairgrounds. With Axel by his side, they navigated through pockets of people, who barely noticed the urgency of their passing. Laughter and chatter faded, replaced by a heavy silence that weighed on Mark's chest as they neared the alley. The shadows loomed ominously, stretching across the pavement like dark fingers reaching out, trying to envelop him in doubt. But Mark pressed forward, steeling himself against the chilling whispers of fear that urged him to turn back. Stay close, Axel, Mark said, feeling the dog's warmth beside him, a calming presence against the uncertainty that filled the air. As they neared the alley's entrance, a damp smell wafted out, mixing with the sweet scent of baked goods from the Smith's bakery. The contrast was unsettling. In that moment, the bustling fair seemed a distant memory, as if it belonged to another world entirely. Here in the alley, shadows danced as the light from the street lamps flickered. Mark hesitated, catching his breath. What if we're wrong about this? He murmured, uncertainty gnawing at him. But guilt flashed through his mind. He couldn't ignore the possibility that something significant was unfolding without him. With a firm nod, he and Axel stepped into the darkness. The atmosphere shifted, tension knotted his stomach. They trudged further in, hearts racing, ears perked for any sign of movement. Then, Just as silence threatened to drown them, a noise echoed from deep within the alley, a soft, unmistakable whimper. Mark froze, squinting into the dimness. "Did you hear that?" he whispered to Axel, who sniffed the air, his body tense with curiosity. With each step forward, the whimpering grew louder, pulling Mark like a magnet. He followed the sound and turned a corner, stopping short in shock. There, huddled against the brick wall, was a small, trembling dog. Its fur was matted, and its wide eyes shone with fear. "Oh, buddy," Mark breathed, sinking to one knee. "You're okay now." Axel approached the little creature gently, his calm demeanor easing the frightened pup's anxiety. The tiny dog inched closer, drawn to Axel's reassuring presence. As he stroked the matted fur, Mark's heart swelled. "Who did this to you?" he asked softly. But he knew the answer lay within the shadows of the alley. Fear tight in his throat, he took one more look around. Just then, a flash of movement caught his attention. A figure emerged from the other end of the alley. Mark's heart raced again, this time not from fear, but from anger. His instincts kicked in. Whoever that was, they were responsible for this suffering. "Hey!" Mark shouted, his voice echoing like a gunshot. "Get back here!" The figure froze for a split second before sprinting away, leaving behind a dark silhouette. Mark's feet propelled him forward, adrenaline surging through his veins. Axel barked, the sound sharp and urgent, echoing off the bricks. But just as they were gaining on the fleeing figure, Mark glanced back at the frightened pup. What if it was hurt? What if it needed him? Caught in that moment of decision, two paths lay before him. Should he chase away the darkness, or tend to the vulnerable heart in front of him? He hesitated, the weight of the responsibility crashing down on him. What was it going to be, Mark? But suddenly, he understood, he had to do both. They fought through the fence of doubt, each heartbeat pounding like a drum. With Axel still beside him, Mark prepared for what was to come. The journey was only beginning. Little did he know, the truth lurking behind the bakery would challenge everything he thought he knew about Maplewood, about friends, loyalty, and the line between fear and courage. What lay ahead would test not just their bond, but the very fabric of their community. And as Mark sprinted down the alley, the urge to uncover the truth fueled his every step. In his mind, a new question loomed: what else was hidden in the shadows? Mark kept his focus forward, his heart pounding against his chest as he bolted after the figure. He heard Axel barking behind him, urging him on, but his mind spun with thoughts of the little dog trembling in the alley. He felt an electric urgency surge through him. There was no hesitation now, he had to get answers. As Mark turned the corner, the alley stretched out before him, an endless stretch of darkness. Shadows flicked across the walls, and the smell of damp concrete filled his nostrils. But no sign of the figure remained. They had disappeared down a different path, swallowed by the night. He paused, panting softly, realizing he had lost sight of them. A wave of frustration washed over him. "I should have gone after them," he whispered under his breath, guilt beginning to curl in his stomach. What would happen next? Would the figure come back? Would they find another innocent creature to harm? "Axel!" he called, feeling a bit lost without his friend. The dog broke free and bounded down the alley toward him. Together, they faced the frightened puppy, now inching closer, its little body trembling in fear. "Hey, little guy," Mark said gently. He knelt down, holding out his hand. The pup hesitated for a moment, but something in Mark's soft tone seemed to bridge the gap between fear and trust. Slowly, the dog moved forward, nudging its nose against Mark's fingers. "You're safe now, I promise," Mark said. He could feel his heart soften, understanding that this was not just about chasing shadows, this was about healing. As he examined the puppy, concern gnawed at him. Its fur was matted and dirty, the eyes wide with uncertainty. What had it been through? Mark shifted internally, his anger toward the mysterious figure sparking again. He now had a new mission, to find out who had done this and make sure no one else ended up like this little creature. "Let us get you checked out," Mark said. He didn't know what it would take, but he meant it. Turning back, he felt a new determination surge through him. He would head toward the fair again, back to where people were bustling without the heaviness weighing him down. "We need help, Axel," he whispered resolutely, giving the dog a reassuring look. "We can figure this out together." The two of them began walking back, Mark cradling the puppy gently in his arms. It nestled in close, its little heartbeat relaxing under his touch. There was a sense of urgency, yes, but there was also hope. As they stepped out of the alley and back into the warmth of the fair, the bright lights and laughter felt jarring. How could everyone celebrate around them while such pain lingered just a shadow away? The world felt divided, and he felt compelled to bring that gap together. Mark caught sight of an old friend, Sarah, who was working the information booth. Her face lit up as she saw him, and for a moment, he felt the heaviness lift. "Mark! Is that a puppy?" she exclaimed, rushing over. "Yeah, found him in the alley. He needs help," he replied, urgency spilling from his words. When Sarah knelt to check the pup, her eyes widened. "Oh no, we need to get him to the vet. This isn't a safe place for him." Mark nodded, relief flooding through him that someone understood. "And I need to find out who did this to him. We can't let them get away." As they took off toward the veterinary clinic, a new fear gripped Mark. What if he couldn't find the figure again? What if the real threat was closer than he could ever imagine? In the depths of his heart, he felt a solid resolve. "I won't stop until I know the truth," he told Axel as they charged through the fairgrounds. But as they hurried down the path, a dark figure flickered just outside his vision. Was it the same one from the alley? Mark's pulse quickened. What if this shadow held the key to unraveling everything? Mark felt a rush of adrenaline as he recognized the figure darting between booths and bright, spinning rides. His instincts kicked in, pulling him forward, urging him to catch up. "Axel, come on!" he shouted, as the little puppy nestled against his chest tightened its grip. The crowd was thick, laughter mingling with the scent of popcorn and cotton candy. Mark felt out of place, like a storm cloud amidst a sunlit day. He pushed past laughing families, the blissful joy stark against his burning determination. The shadow slipped around a towering Ferris wheel, its bright light slicing through the night, but Mark was resolute. He would not lose sight again. As he rounded the corner, the figure stopped momentarily, the glint of light catching their eyes. There was a flash of recognition. In that fleeting moment, Mark saw something familiar. "Wait!" he called out, but the figure pulled away, sprinting again into the throng of people. He forced his legs to move faster, urgency fueling him. Axel barked behind him, the sound cutting through the chaos, and he felt a sense of solidarity from his canine friend. They were in this together. Mark squeezed past a group of teenagers, panic rising as he watched the figure navigate through the maze of festival-goers. He couldn't let them get away, not when they held answers to the pain he had witnessed, the guilt gnawing inside as he knew he had to do something. "Hey!" he called again, louder this time. The figure hesitated but didn't turn, their body tense as if weighing options. With an explosive burst of determination, Mark lunged forward, reaching out as he closed the distance. Before he could grab their arm, the figure turned, obscured mostly by shadows. Mark's heart raced wildly as recognition forged a new path in his mind. It was a woman, her face partially hidden beneath a hood. "Who are you?" he demanded, breathless. "Stay away," she hissed, eyes darting nervously. There was fear there, but also a flicker of desperation. The moment hung heavy. "Please, I just want to help." "What do you know about the puppy?" Her expression shifted, he could see it in her eyes, whether it was regret or hesitation, something inside her was weighing her down. But just then, a commotion erupted behind them. A little girl shrieked as her balloon popped, drawing the attention of the crowd. The woman took advantage of the distraction, bolting away, leaving Mark with his heart in his throat. Axel! We have to follow her. They raced after the figure, weaving through scattered groups of fair attendees, Mark shouting for her to stop. His voice pushed through the din, but the woman was disappearing into the night, a shadow chasing shadows. What is she hiding? Mark thought, an ache of confusion clawing at his mind. He knew he was close to uncovering something significant, something that could turn everything upside down. He pushed through the final stretch toward the exit, a tunnel of light. But as he reached the edge of the fair, the woman was gone, vanished just like the darkness had swallowed her before. Panting and disoriented, Mark felt the little puppy trembling in his arms, sensing his distress. "We'll find her, buddy," he murmured, a wave of determination washing over him. But what if she held the key to not only the puppy's truth but also the mystery that had begun to unravel before him? The thrill of uncertainty coursed through Mark. The night was younger than he had thought, and somewhere beyond the lights and laughter, the answers awaited, but would he be brave enough to face them? Mark leaned against a nearby booth, taking in deep breaths, his heart pounding. The vibrant lights of the fair flickered around him, but the joy they once held felt like a distant echo. Axel whimpered softly, nuzzling his face into Mark's neck, sensing the distress radiating from his owner. "Where did she go?" Mark muttered, scanning the crowd as if she might materialize again. Wherever she was, he needed to find her. There was urgency in his chest, a calling to unravel the thorny threads that connected her to the puppy he held. "Come on, Axel," he said, straightening up. They had to move. He headed toward a quieter area, where the blaring music and laughter faded into a distant hum. The fair was a bustling maze, but he had an inkling that the answers lay somewhere beyond the swirls of cotton candy and brightly lit rides. As he walked, he tried to piece together everything. That flash of recognition in the woman's eyes tugged at him. Who was she? What did she know? They were strangers, yet somehow connected, and that realization gnawed at him. He spotted a group of fair staff, their colorful shirts contrasting with the surrounding shadows. Approaching them, he felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. "Hey, did you see a woman in a hooded jacket?" "She was just here." Mark's voice trailed off as they shook their heads. "Sorry, man. The crowd's a lot to keep track of," one of them replied, adjusting his cap. Their disappointment washed over him, heavy like a weight he couldn't shake off. Mark's mind was racing, piecing together possibilities. The woman had been scared, that much he could tell. And if her fear connected to Axel, what would that mean for the both of them? He hesitated, weighing his options. Maybe he needed a different approach. "Axel," he whispered, kneeling down to meet the puppy's bright eyes. "We need to go back to the park. There must be something there." Mark stood once more, feeling a strange rush of confidence. Perhaps if he retraced his steps, the woman might return, or he might catch another hint, a stronger trail of her scent in the air. They slipped back through the bustling throngs of the fair, the lights dimming in Mark's mind as the anticipation bubbled again. The memories of the puppy's origins rolled through his mind, a vast puzzle he was desperate to solve. Once outside the fair's entrance, he noticed the nearby park, the trees swaying gently in the breeze, the moon glowing down on the small lake. It felt like a sanctuary amidst the chaos, a place where secrets could be revealed under the watchful stars. "Let us check it out, Axel," Mark said with a renewed vigor. As they entered the park, the sounds of laughter faded, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the rustle of leaves. Suddenly, a sound broke through the silence, a soft whimper. Mark paused, heart racing. He had heard that sound before. Was it possible? Could it be another dog, or was his own imagination running wild in the stillness? "Axel, stay close," he whispered, moving cautiously toward the direction of the sound. The trees loomed higher, shadowy figures against the moonlight, and a faint glimmer caught his eye. His instincts screamed at him. What if this moment could lead him to the truth? As he approached, the whimper sounded again, clearer now, and his heart surged. But what he found might just change everything. Mark pushed aside the branches, the thicket cracking underfoot. The whimper became more distinct. With each cautious step, his pulse quickened, apprehension mixed with anticipation coursed through him. What he sought was not just another dog but perhaps a missing piece in an enigma that had entwined himself and Axel with the woman in the hooded jacket. The clearing ahead was dimly lit by the moonlight filtering through the leaves. Finally, he reached the edge, and his breath hitched. There, curled against a tree trunk, was another puppy smaller, trembling, its coat a patchy mix of browns and blacks. It looked lost and scared, its expressive eyes round with disbelief as they locked onto Mark. "Hey there, little one," he said softly, crouching low. Axel inched forward, nose sniffing the air, his usually exuberant demeanor subdued. He understood the fragility of the moment. The new puppy whined again and took a hesitant step backward. Mark could almost feel the creature's fear pulsing through the air. "It's okay. You're safe now," he murmured, desperate to convey reassurance. As he extended a hand toward the puppy, a glint caught his eye, something glimmering among the leaves. It was small, metallic. Hesitating for a brief moment, he leaned in closer. The shape became clearer, a tag, slightly tarnished but still visible. Could it be? He murmured, carefully lifting it. His heart sank as he read the engraving, "Luna if found, call 5550199. This was more than a stray, this was someone's lost puppy. The name resonated within him, stirring up unease. He felt an inkling of recognition, like a half-remembered dream. Axel's urgent nudges brought him back to the focus of the moment. The small puppy still eyed him warily, caught between fear and a flicker of trust. "Let us get you out of here," he whispered, glancing back at Axel. "We can't leave her by herself." With a gentle motion, he scooped the little dog into his arms. It trembled but didn't resist, as if sensing that Mark wasn't a threat. He smiled, feeling the warmth radiate from the small body nestled against him. "Okay, Axel, we need to help her find her home," he said, trying to instill confidence into his voice. They turned towards the park entrance, the shadows around them closing in, whispering secrets he couldn't quite grasp. As they exited, Mark's thoughts whirled. Who did Luna belong to? Why had she been alone in the park? And most importantly, how did all of this connect to the woman he had been searching for? Suddenly, Mark felt a vibration in his pocket. Pulling out his phone, the screen lit up with a notification. An unknown number flashing across it. Could it be tied to Luna? Or perhaps even the woman in the hooded jacket? Without thinking, he answered it. "Hello?" he said, heart racing, the worry in his chest bubbling to the surface. "Mark?" A familiar voice spoke, and his mind reeled. The voice, soft but urgent, struck a chord deep within him. I need to talk to you. It's about Axel and the puppies." Mark froze, the world around him fading into a blur. The truth he had been chasing was about to surface. What would she reveal? How could this connection shape everything he thought he knew? "Wait. Who is this?" he demanded, desperate for clarity. A pause echoed in the night. "Just listen to me, you're in danger." The call dropped, leaving Mark clutching the phone tightly, breaths coming in short gasps. He looked down at Axel and the newfound pup nestled against him. "We have to figure this out, don't we, boy?" As they moved forward, shadows loomed, and Mark couldn't shake the feeling that secrets lingered just beyond his reach, waiting to unfold. What danger lay ahead? And would he find the answers he so desperately needed? Mark felt the weight of the unknown pressing down on him as they headed toward the park entrance. Axel's keen ears perked up each time a twig snapped or a breeze rustled through the trees. He could sense the anticipation bubbling into a thick tension around them. "Let us keep moving," he whispered, the little puppy nestled in his arms. She was quiet now, her heartbeat steadying against his chest. Mark shot a glance at Axel, whose loyal instincts never wavered. "Stick close, boy." Just as they reached the path, a rustling sound made him stop in his tracks. It wasn't the soft chitter of animals in the underbrush. This was heavier, deliberate. Mark tensed, feeling the cool night air racing against his skin. What was that? Axel growled softly, a warning reverberating through his stance. For a moment, time stretched taut, and Mark could feel the adrenaline surging within him, sharp and electric. From behind the scraggly bushes, a figure stepped out. It was a woman in dark clothing, her hood drawn low over her face. Mark felt his breath hitch again, his heart pounding against his ribcage. "You. What do you want?" The woman's hand jerked up, immediately halting his rising fear. "Stop. I'm not here to hurt you," she called. "I'm trying to help." Her voice was quick and breathy, cutting through the tension. "Help?" Mark echoed, skepticism invading his words. "You just called me and told me I was in danger. How am I supposed to trust you?" "I can explain everything," she said, stepping forward cautiously. "But not here. It's not safe." Shadows danced behind her, and Mark's instinct screamed to run. "Why should I believe you? Who are you?" "I'm the one who found the first puppy," she said, her voice tremulous but urgent. "I know about the others, and I know about Axel. No. It couldn't be." This was all too much. How could she possibly have connections to Axel? Mark felt the weight of the world crashing around him, and a rush of emotions pooled in his chest: fear, anger, but above all, confusion. "Why would you care about Axel?" "Because I care about their lives," she said, her voice earnest now. "And because someone is after them. After you." It took a moment for her words to sink in. Mark's mind raced. Who could possibly want to harm Axel or the puppies? More importantly, why? "You're serious?" "Yes. We need to get to my car." "I can explain everything once we're safe," she insisted, desperation etched in her expression. Mark studied her face, searching for a hint of deception. "Okay, but you lead the way." "Axel will stay close," he said firmly, raising his chin with determination. As they moved, the shadows thickened behind them, as if the darkness were alive. The woman led, her pace brisk, checkered glances aiming to scan for threats. Mark followed, still clutching Luna and with Axel at his side, protective and alert. "What do you know?" Mark pressed, but she shook her head. "Not here," she whispered. "If we don't move now, it will be too late." They rounded a bend in the path and caught sight of a parked car hidden among the trees. Just as they neared, a chill shot down Mark's spine. The scene suddenly felt charged, his heart racing faster than before. Then, a loud crash echoed through the park, shocking them all into a halt. "What was that?" Luna whimpered softly in his arms. "Stay close," Mark ordered, instinctively shielding her with his body. The woman turned, eyes wide with fear. "Whatever it is, it's coming for you." There was no time to think. The urgency was palpable as they rushed for the car, but the feeling of eyes watching them from the shadows made every step heavier. What awaited them in the darkened corners of the park? Would they make it to safety in time, or were they about to plunge deeper into a perilous mystery that could shake everything they knew? Mark felt the rapid thump of his heart hammering in his chest as he rushed forward, instinct screaming at him to reach the car. The woman led the way, the fabric of her dark clothing fluttering behind her like a specter in the night. Axel stayed by his side, his fur standing on end, every muscle tensed and ready. Just as they reached the vehicle, the night was split open by another crash, this time closer. Mark felt Luna snuggle deeper into his arms, her small body shaking against him. "Hold tight, little one," he whispered, trying to project calm even as fear coiled in his stomach like a snake. The woman sprinted to the driver's side, fumbling with the keys. "Get in." she yelled, glancing over her shoulder. Her urgency fueled his legs, propelling him forward. He could barely process her figure silhouetted against the dim light of the parking lot. "Go, go!" he shouted, his voice edged with panic. He swung open the door and ducked inside, cradling Luna in his lap. Axel jumped in beside him, his eyes scanning the surroundings nervously. The woman climbed in, slamming the door shut just as a heavy thud echoed from outside. Mark's heart sank as he caught a fleeting glimpse of movement in the shadows, something big, looming just beyond the tree-line. He locked eyes with the woman, who looked equally terrified. "Start the car," he urged. She turned the key, but the engine sputtered before falling silent. Desperation washed over him, and he felt his throat constrict. "Come on," he pleaded. "We don't have time." She twisted her fingers around the key again, and this time, the engine roared to life, a snarling sound that pierced through the silence of the park. "Hang on," she cried as she slammed the gear into drive and pressed the gas pedal. The tires screeched as they lurched forward, barely avoiding a thick tree trunk. Mark glanced into the side mirror, holding his breath. Shadows flitted behind them, a dark presence still trailing. His mind raced back to the woman's words, someone was after them. But who? And why? Who are they? He demanded, eyes darting around the interior of the car, half expecting to see a looming figure in the back seat. "I'll explain everything," she said, gripping the wheel tight. "But we need to get to a safe place first. I promise, just keep your eyes on the road." Just as they turned onto the main road, the car jostled, and Mark felt the air around them grow heavy. Dark shapes danced across his vision. Were they still being followed? Axel whined softly, sensing the tension, and Mark reached down to stroke the pup's fur gently, grounding both him and Luna. "Please, just tell me one thing," he said urgently, "why are we in danger?" "The puppies," she uttered, breathless. "They're not just pets, Mark. They hold something important. Something someone would kill for." The weight of her revelation crashed into Mark like a tidal wave. He felt a mix of fear and a burning need to protect Luna and Axel. The world twisted around him, and he struggled to grasp the truth she just revealed. "But what do you mean?" he stammered, desperately trying to process it all. "Not now," she shouted, urgency flooding her tone. "We need to get away first." As they sped away from the park, Mark felt a deep ache form inside him. He thought of Axel, his loyal companion, and the little lives they were fighting for. The clue hung thick in the air, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, a plunge into a danger far deeper than he could imagine. What incredible secrets awaited them? And would they all make it out unscathed? The car whizzed down the darkened streets of Maplewood, leaving the park's foreboding shadows behind. Mark leaned forward, anxiety tightening his chest, yet the promise of truth stirred something deeper in his soul. "What do you mean the puppies are important?" he pressed again, urgency coating his words. The woman glanced at him through the rearview mirror, a flicker of something fear, perhaps crossing her face. "I'll explain once we're safe," she said, teeth clenched around the wheel. "But we don't have much time." Mark glanced back at Axel, who was alert, his ears perked up, and then gently cradled Luna against him. She had settled down, but Mark felt the pulse of worry radiating from her small body. "Whatever's going on, it's bigger than just a couple of lost puppies," he murmured, his heart racing with dread. They slowed as they neared an old, brick building at the edge of town, twinkling fading lights illuminating the once bustling community center. The woman pulled into the overgrown parking lot and quickly got out, waving them to follow. "Come on," she urged, urgency echoing in her voice. Mark unbuckled and stepped out, Axel at his side, instinctively cautious. "What is going on?" As they hurried inside, the woman locked the door behind them. She took a moment to catch her breath, glancing out the windows. "We should be safe in here for now," she said, voice trembling slightly. In the dim light, Mark studied her closely, piecing together fragments of information. "Who are you? Why are you helping us?" She took a deep breath, steadying her shaking hands. "My name is Mia. I used to work with the local shelter. The puppies, they were taken from their homes, and there's a ring of people who will stop at nothing to get them back." Mark's breath hitched. "Back? How? Why?" "They're bred from a line of specialized service dogs," Mia explained. "They're trained to assist in high-level security situations. Whoever has them believes they need to reclaim them and they will come for them." "So, Axel," he murmured, his eyes widening. He glanced at his loyal canine companion, who stood guard next to him. "Are we the targets?" "Yes," she said, voice low. "They think Axel can lead them back to the puppies, and that makes you both expendable." Mark wiped sweat from his brow, the gravity of her words settling into the marrow of his bones. Fear pooled in his stomach as he felt the adoration for Axel swell. The bond they had was stronger than any could understand, transcending the notion of a partner and canine. "Then we have to protect them," he said, determination lighting fire within him. "We can't let that happen." Mia nodded, relief coloring her features. "And I can help you. We can rally together. If the community bands together, we can protect the puppies, and we don't have to let fear dictate our actions like it did at the fair." A flicker of hope ignited. Mark felt Axel's presence beside him. They could change things. When fear tried to claw its way in, courage pushed back. "Let us tell people what is happening," he said, setting his jaw. "Maplewood is strong. Together, we can face this." Just then, the air was pierced by shouting outside, drawing their attention. "What is happening?" Mark whispered, bracing himself. "Stay low," Mia hissed, looking out the window. The shadows were in motion again. Immediacy flooded her tone. "They must have found us." Mark's heart raced, the reality fully shifting to a storm brewing beyond the sanctuary of the community center. "We need to gather the people. Anyone who cares about Axel and the puppies." Mia turned to him, error etched on her face. "Do you really think they'll listen?" Mark met her gaze fiercely. "They will if we make it clear what is at stake. We won't just fight for the puppies, but for the heart of Maplewood." The commotion grew louder, distant shouts morphing into chaotic clamor. Shadows darted around the building, figures growing ominously closer. "They're here," Mia whispered, stepping back with wide eyes. As the door rattled under the pressure of pounding fists, Mark felt the weight of fear in that moment, but the fire of determination ignited in his soul. "We won't back down. I won't let my town fall apart." With Axel at his side, they moved to the door, preparing for what lay beyond it. They would fight for truth, they would defend the vulnerable, and they would pull their community back from the precipice of doubt. As the door swung open, Mark stood firm. Behind him, the whispers of the past echoed strong hopes for a bright, united future resting on their shoulders. Together, they would unravel the secrets entwined in the dark, protect the innocent, and ultimately reclaim the light that Maplewood was built upon. In the profound silence that followed the moment of confrontation, Mark took a step forward. "This is our town. We're not afraid anymore." With his arms wide and Axel at his side, they promised to confront whatever came their way, ready to illuminate the shadows that had loomed for far too long. Now was the moment for transformation, not only in themselves but in the heart of Maplewood. This is the time for action, the time to stand up for what truly matters. If you've been moved by this journey of hope, stand with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this epic ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans always understand the importance of uniting as a community through these actions.